And in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name and take away our reproach. Isaiah 4:1.
Greetings, Anu. Greetings for those of you who are not Anu but aspiring to be Anu. Giving thanks to the Most High for allowing us through these last 6 yoms, these 6 yamins. Shesh yamim, yamim shesh. And also give thanks to Shibuya for allowing us to utilize this space to help spread our own understanding and deliberations of the Anu Way, Volume 1. So, where are we, Ima Precious? What's next?
Peace. So we're going to get right into the preface because this is what we do. So the prefaces state, and of course the preface, for those of you who may be new, is a condensed excerpt from the Anue Foundations. And it reads, this book is not to be read only once. Read the words of this book of knowledge and wisdom out loud. Discuss the convictions of this work with your Anu brothers and sisters. Share this information with your people. This publication should be read daily. Every line in this book can be taken out of context and studied on the strength of its own potential. And the truth is to be deliberated. I know there are people in the back, and oftentimes this is requested, so I'm just going to say it. The truth is to be deliberated.
Give thanks. I didn't even have to say it. So one thing before we even get into like the summary, because y'all know what I'm about to say, I do want to pose a question in the chat. Greetings, everyone. I'll greet everyone first. Greetings, Chief Yuya. Greetings, Sister Kashia. Peace, peace. Greetings, Brother Antonio. Greetings, Brother Cruz. You appreciate it. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. We don't know what you're saying.
We don't.
But you, Bivakasha, all the same. Peace. So, regarding the scripture Imam Precious read as we opened the space, I'm going to pose a question. She talked about, and there will come a time of such calamity. So, when is this time of calamity? So, I'll put that in the chat. But I'll ask that, and then we'll go into our summary. But deliberate. Everyone should deliberate on that for a little while, so we can know what your answers are. What were you going to say?
Yeah. So just to clarify, we haven't gotten into calamity, but we are about to. What I read was Isaiah 4:1, and in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man. So the question is, what day? What time are we referring to?
Right. So I guess we'll say what era is the time of calamity? Mm-hmm. That's our question. Our first question. And this is open for everyone. So as you all go into that question, you already know what I'm going to say. Where are we? Eva Precious?
Family.
We still in
family.
We're still in family.
Because it's all about the bloodline, right?
Yes,
that makes sense.
It is. And we say this all the time. Why are we still in family? Because it's the most important part. Family is the foundation of the community. So, we're going to spend some time on this until it, gets through, right? So what era is the time of calamity? So we're still on family. And as you can see from our thumbnail and our gorgeous thumbnail, these are desperate times. And what do desperate times call for? Desperate measures. Well, we're going to focus on the desperate times, that time of calamity. So we'll await your responses in the chat. And as we do that, we're going to kind of keep it moving. So, Amos Precious, can you recap that scripture and then move us forward through the passage?
Absolutely. Isaiah 4:1, and in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name. take away our reproach. The Bible scripture speaks of a time, this Bible scripture speaks of a time that is so rife with calamity and war that men will seek leadership and it will be seldom found. Consequently, women will seek men with the same level of desperation. Women will have the ability to acquire resources for themselves, but will carry the shame of childlessness and singlehood, having no covering. They will seek men to have children with and to be able to claim the surname of that man's homestead, to take away their shame or reproach. Their greatest reproach is not being covered by a patriarch.
I'm sorry, I already looked at the chat. She says, crime, desperate times call for crime. That's true, though. Crime is a desperate measure, right? That's true.
Desperate times call for crime. Well, you know what? So that speaks even more to why community is so important, because
right, who's protecting you? Where's your hedge? Right. So let's get into some of these responses before we start breaking down these line by line. So I guess that's Chief's answer. Crime. Calamity, time of crime. So Brother Cruz says the time reference is when there is shortage of righteousness among men and their leadership. Shabbat Shalom, top tier speakers.
Yeah,
hey, Ema, how you doing? Sister Kashia says the era is gender confusion, sexual promiscuity, disregard for familial hierarchy of man, woman, child. Hierarchy of man, woman, child. Greetings, Cassie Derwin. I haven't met you, but I'm saying your name like you said.
Yes, right?
You're welcome in this space.
Yes.
Everybody, nobody, everybody, peace all. Yes. Brother Chris says, era of the calamity is when the world is inverted. Men want to be women, women want to be men, individuals are valued over community. Yeah, we had a very early on when we, because we do here in Anu, we have Sabbat ciphers with one another. This is how we protect and keep the Sabbath, for those of you who do not, I just want to, not be exclusive to Sabbath. We had a cipher where we talked about, that pack versus the lone wolf, like which one is more protected. And, in some cases, there's people go with the pack, right? Like when you think about how people, I don't even know, like body insecurity, everybody likes to use words and things to just kind of be with the pack. But it's because the pack provides security, right? But when we're talking about something righteous or something that, actually makes sense, that pack should be family, or even like here in Anu, your collective of families, where you're moving in a way that is reflective of the hierarchy set down by Yah. Shabbat Shalom, Sovereign East, peace. Okay, so that's all we got. So give thanks, Brother Chris, Sister Kashia, and Brother Cruz for your answers. What were we going to say?
And Sister Kashia did post something else right before the quote you read. She also stated, the era of calamity is whenever one steps out of righteousness and produce within that. Yeah. So
crazy times.
But you know what? Even more specifically, we know biblical references are it's captured in a space and time, and we're curious when you think that time is. Like, was it then? Is it coming in the future? Is it perhaps now? Like, what time frame do we think this all applies and these instructions apply?
That's for y'all in the chat. What era is the time? What time frame is it? What are we talking about?
Right. See, we get so deep with it's like we're like setting the tone, and it's like, no, we mean concretely.
So let's move forward, because there is a 20-second delay.
Allegedly.
It's true. Let's just keep moving. Okay, I start seeing them pouring now. Because she said now. We talk about now, right now, right now. Forever. Maybe not, but right now. All right, so let's get into these. Oh, wait. Um, Brother Cruz says, when the passage was written, the lifestyles of the system were present from before Abram and with Sodom and Gomorrah. In this time of Isaiah, God seeking endurance was almost missing. Thanks. That is what's happening. So when we break down scripture and we talk about, who's talking, who's being spoken to, and what's happening. So that's the what's happening at that time. So give thanks.
Give thanks. And then he did say this time is now. So the time reference in the scripture
is now.
Happening.
So let's get into these percentages.
Yes. So the first line that we're digging into is that this Bible scripture speaks of a time that is so rife with calamity and war that men will seek leadership and it will be seldom found. So this makes me think of, and I'm going to focus primarily on the second portion of this sentence, where men will seek leadership and it will be seldom found. I immediately, my thoughts immediately went to, I can't focus, so I never read the chat while speaking. It's just always problematic for me.
Don't do it.
So I'm gonna look here. If you see your eyes going down, just say, look up. There's always something going down in that chat. This particular line took me right to Titus 2. And in Titus 2, what's being said is an acknowledgement that the elder men, right, that the aged men be sober and grave, temperate and sound in faith and in charity and in patience, so that the aged women likewise, that they behave in a way becoming holy. And it goes on to talk about, not drinking too much wine but it really was giving a charge to who first? To the elder men, that they have a role, and that, through that line of hierarchy and through that bloodline, there's a standard that's being passed down from one to another. And so it is appropriate, not just during time of calamity and war, but definitely, more specifically during time of calamity and war, that men, not males, but men will seek leadership. The question is, why is it seldom found? Right? What's happened? What's happened to the men?
Yeah. So I first thought of, when I read this sentence, was like, Chief has said everybody's going to be a bride at some point, right? So you have to submit to something, both men and women at some point. But who do you submit to? How do you choose that? How do you find that person, right? Especially in a time like now, the time of calamity, when you have men beaten down because of toxic masculinity. We can't have you being too masculine. Then what else are they supposed to be? Then we have, I just need a man. I need somebody who's gonna stand up and da. But then didn't you just say it was toxic yesterday? Right? So then who do the younger, the junior men have to look up to? If we're beating men down so much, to the point where they cannot be masculine and be men in the spaces that they are and be, what they are called to be as they're designed, then how are the men going to find leadership to train them up in the way they should go? And how are the women going to find men? It just doesn't make sense. So, yeah.
And who's being truly, directed by Yah? Because that's, that's where that hierarchy begins. I was about to completely make up a word. It was a big one. I had to stop myself. Like, I don't think
What was it? Maybe we can get it in Google.
I don't even want to, because then it might actually be a word, and then someone will make fun of that. So I'm gonna stick with what I gave.
Okay. Brother Antonio says, an era when people are judged and reap what they have been sowing historically. Cause and effect is always in effect. Causation, right? Right. So cause and effect is always in effect. So that day is now. The effects show us the causes that manifest them. You doing this is going to happen. Exactly. You did that, that's going to happen. Oh, you thought I forgot? Boom, here you go. You know?
Right.
Makeup aware.
Never.
Never.
My brain won't even allow it. It won't even come out. It's like, that's not it. Retreat. Yeah.
So we do have a question
Yeah.
regarding this sentence, and we'll ask it, and then we'll move on to the next one, which is and this is for the men. Question for the men. What should you be looking for in a leader? So we'll put that across the board, and we'll give people the 13 to 14 second delay.
Apparently.
Okay. And then we'll go on to the next part. In a leader. Okay. So that question is there in the chat for our brothers. What should you be looking for in a leader? And so we'll, give some time to answer that while we move to the next question. Oh, wait. We have some chatter. So Sovereignty says the time being referred to here can be considered the president. I don't know why I said that. Can be considered the president. Warfare, food shortages, breakdown of the economy, lack of families, and the repercussions of a breakdown in family structure. Absolutely. Chibuya says females and foreign men can't beat down men. Men never emerge when young males are malformed via oppression. Right. If you're malformed,
you don't even get
to that point where you can be maybe male, but and then because we talk about like here and you're not just like, oh, man, woman, just because of I had children or I'm female. That has to be verified by your community. You have to go through specific and certain rites of passage for your community to verify you in that role. Because here, when we're talking about men and women, they serve as jegnas. You can't be a male and lead and train up other young men. You can't be a girl, and train up other young women. You have to be a woman training girls. You have to be a man training young men and boys.
And an elder woman, an elder woman
Right.
and an elder man. So there's that. And again, the difference between elder and older, right, is also a distinction that we Anu make.
Yes.
Just because you're, my senior in years doesn't mean that you're my elder.
Right.
Because it goes back to verification. Yeah.
We do that a lot, especially in melanin dominant communities. It's like, I'm sure we all know, like, you don't talk to your elders that way. And some of that is ingrained. Like, of course, I'm not going to, be rude to somebody who's been on this planet like longer. However, I also have to acknowledge, like, you've been on this planet, so you're older, but you're not my elder. Your elders come from your community and they're verified.
Right.
Verified source. And that's it.
Yes.
Brother Cruz says the kings of the time were not looking to reflect the true plan of the all in all. They followed the golden cow.
Right.
Idols. No.
Even self-idolatry, just the idea of what is that shiny thing, How hard is it to be covered and to live under righteous laws? Like, no, it needs to be something new and different. Especially even now, right? It can't be that it's this. It can't be. It has to be something else. I have to, have some other sort of experience for it to be authentic. So
it reminds me, we also do classes here in Anu. So we recently had a class on like who are the Anu and went over like Sumerian and Babylonian mythology and the Anunnaki. And we went over, give thanks, Ima Sequoia, what it, gods versus deities. Deities are, entities and things that people worship. They tend to be material. So like when we are thinking of what people are worshiping and looking up to and what they're allowing to train them and shape their brains, the first thing that comes to mind is like celebrities. People are very quick to talk, well, so-and-so said, and, this actor who was on this said, and he's doing this because like, our minds are so affixed on like the material things that they represent. It's like, oh, it must, I think we know that there's something that's unrighteous about it, but then that worldly and earthly pull, like tries to pull us back, and then no, this is what you want. It's the serpent. No. We right over here. Come over here.
Mm-hmm.
So Chief US says, answer. I would look to see if the person was appointed by my creator and not by their own self-determination. If Yah gives the green light, I require only a deeper exploration of that leader. Give thanks. I always wonder, then that means we have to be in tune, right? And, in spirit, like with the Most High, to know when we're being sent someone or if someone's being sent to us. Just like, if we're supposed to receive a particular message. So when you say like, is that a person appointed by the creator? It's like, well, are you in tune with, what the creator is saying to you?
Or who the creator is, right? But again, that goes back to the idea of idolatry and like just who are you serving? And then it's almost like who's speaking, understanding, recognizing the voice, right? Mm-hmm. Because the sheep will know the voice and hear the voice. So, yeah.
I'm about to mess it up. My children will know my voice.
Yes.
Say that. Yeah. My flock.
Right, my sheep. Mm-hmm.
My sheep will know my voice.
Yep. And
call me by my name.
Mm-hmm.
Our leader must be, Brother Cruz says, our leader must be filled with the scholarship of the Almighty. Demand that his subordinates embrace this task of becoming chiefs and warriors of the Almighty by walking the stairs of corrections. That just reminded me, as I was reading, I was like, David.
Yeah.
The hammer.
Yeah. He's bringing
David.
It. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And he danced. David. Brother Chris says, in a leader, I'm looking for someone who is responsive to what the moment needs when the moment needs it. That's the righteousness, right?
Yeah.
What is needed right now.
And that's that connection, though. That's the divinity, that connection to Yah, that makes it clear and decisive. There's no, especially, and that reflects the purpose, being purpose driven. Because when you are, it's not a question of, do I say this? Do I do this? It's just, again, like you said, the hammer, done.
Right. Message received. Slit and throat.
Right. Or soft words, right? It depends, because it's not always, not always that.
That's true. That's true. Brother Cruz, in addition, so stairs of corrections and endurance. Good things. Yes, it was a great class. Okay, so before I go on, I'm going to read because I don't want us to get a little bit too behind. So I'm going to go into the next sentence, which is, consequently, women will seek men with the same level of desperation. So, what does that mean? The same way men are looking for leaders, the women are looking for those men, right? And if you can't find them because they've been malformed since birth, right? So they never grow up and are trained to be actual men and all that entails, then the women are going to be looking for that. They're desperate. And not just because, I want to be clear, not just because, there's malformed men, but also because they're running them off, right? It's like, well, I have this, I have that, I have all this money, I deserve a man, I should do. No,
you earned it. You earned your account. Your account is just enough to have one man. It doesn't work like that.
So then you find yourself in a place where it's like, well, I have no children, I have no covering, I have no mate, I'm desperate to find one. And you realize all the things, and I'm saying this from personal experience, all the things that you poured yourself into really didn't yield anything. There was not a real ROI, return on investment.
Yep.
There wasn't. What you should have been investing in should have started from early. Just like when they talk about finances, we should learn that from early. And how many people are in states of poverty because they didn't learn finances early? This is the same thing. That investment of family should be learned and taught and learned early. Right. So that you know what to do and the steps to make, as you progress and evolve into manhood or womanhood. The other thing, um, that part about women seeking men with the same level of desperation, it correlates directly to the part of the verse, the part of the scripture that you read about, and in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, right? Because that's how desperate it is. It's like, people, I want one man, and I don't want to share, and this is my man, and da 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 da. That's how desperate you're going to be. But it doesn't mean I don't want that those words to be misconstrued as it's a wrong thing. There's nothing wrong with I can't speak today either. Plurality. I said it right. Plurality. Your tongue right. Plurality. There's nothing wrong. It's actually ways to fortify and build up families. That's the best way to build up families, right? But then you'll have women like grabbing, for these spaces because they realize, like I said, you put your investment into the wrong thing early on, and you should have been looking elsewhere. And what do you want? All that monogamy goes out the window because you realize what you need is headship. What you need is direction.
Right. Now, the challenge is that, the context is, and this is why we pose that question, what era, what time is this Hebrew scripture referencing? And the reality is it's what was said, it's now. But if that's now, then that means there's calamity and war now. So how do you, are you even, aligning yourself with 6 women who may be similar or like-minded or, focused on the same sort of mission, coming together and saying, we need to take hold of one man and we need to be prepared, with resources. Do you even recognize that? Because that pretty much leads into the next sentence, right? It says women will have the ability to acquire resources for themselves, but will carry the shame of childlessness and singlehood, having no covering. So again, I know we haven't gotten into the line about shame and reproach just yet, but these women will only have the ability, to acquire resources. So it's almost like we are the human resource. We are the economy. So instead of being that economy, we go to seek out, right, resources. But then what's the trade-off? What are you selling for that compensation? You're selling the idea of, like you just said, you're sacrificing being mated at an earlier age or at the right age. And then of course, if you have children, then they're more than likely without their father present. And so you're unmated. So it's like there's this toss up. And so recognize that, if you're not in that position yet, celebrate that and seek what you should, as far as not focusing on the resource that you can get, but instead the abundance of a resource that is family, right?
Yeah. Yeah, ladies, buying your own groceries ain't enough. Yeah, you having your condo ain't enough. You have to think like, what value do you bring to the homestead? So it can't be like, I have this degree, I have that degree, and I'm a 6-figure. You know what? You can't. What's the value? Like, and how do you take that and bring value to the homestead? That's where the mindset has to be, because when those men take you on, you're going to get an assignment. You have to fall in line. It's not just going to stop at, well, I could, how it says, we'll make our own bread, and we'll make our own apparel. It's not just that, I can clothe and feed myself. How are you contributing to the homestead? You're not just going to sit over in the cut like, I got your name and I'm just going to continue doing my own thing. That's not how it works. That's not what this is saying. Yeah. So just to be clear.
Yeah.
We did have another question for the men, but there's a lot of chatter and I don't want us to get behind. So Brother Christopher says, Chief Yuya, what would be indicators that someone, oh, so he asked, what would be the indicators that someone is appointed by their creator? I often see people who proclaim to be divinely appointed, but it's obvious they have ulterior motives. I think there's an answer down below, so we'll get to it. Brother Antonio says, I look for integrity and consistency. That man must be righteous and have a connection with the Most High.
Yeah.
They must also be effective and not a mouth flapper like the Canadians from South.
Oh, that's funny.
You know, because
See,
the
I
Canadians,
did watch
they're
South
drawn
Park.
different in South Park, and they go, nah, nah.
Yes.
It's just like
I
the
do
top 10 and
remember
the bottom
those.
nothing.
That is funny.
That is hilarious. Yeah, Ike and his people. Yeah, they do. Terrence and Phillip. Yeah, Terrence. They do something. Now,
All right. Yeah, I was like, I remember that one.
Right. Oh, give thanks, Brother Cruz. Yes, David.
Yeah.
Sister Kashia said, should one strive to have the same qualities as the leader they seek, especially if that leader is Yah appointed?
Of
Peace,
course.
Brother Ricochet. 7. Chief U.S. says, answer, a leader doesn't need to exhibit anything for our approval. What if a child is appointed as leader, judge, ruler, and king? You would still need to serve regardless of their ability to direct. It's like the film Aki Lo broke down. Like, and it's not, this is necessarily just have to be that film. Like, a lot of times when we're watching films like East Asian films, the emperor is a lot of times depicted, it's a child. And all the courtiers, it's like, whatever happens, you know, this 7-year-old or 8-year-old, I always think they're like 7.
That's it.
I don't know. It's like, this is it. This is what we have to do. Like, so regardless if they're able to direct. I mean, now in the film last night, they staged a coup, but that's beside the point. You got to do what the king says do. If they're appointed, and a lot of the times they're appointed, even when we think of, you know, we have European history, they're appointed by God. I mean, that's something different. But, you know, you have to do what those who are appointed by Yah are there to share with you and show you. Good thanks. Understood. Brother, Sister Kashia said, y'all pretty tough.
I know. We've been talking a lot. I think that's
there's been a lot of chatter.
Oh.
Tongues are probably like, yeah, we're tired. We're going on break. Probably going on strike soon. Brother Chris says the allocation of those resources would be a very high risk, low reward investment.
Yeah. Yep.
Brother Antonio said, when I read Desperation, I thought of women grabbing the first man they saw, not looking for headship, but selfishly to redeem themselves. That's a good way to look. Yeah, I didn't even think of it like that, but that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So then later it's like, you know, oh, he ain't no good. Well, you know, you just took the first thing that came along, but at the same time, what we always say, water seeks out its own level. Yeah. You got your reflection. So yeah. Maybe that reflection was selfish. Chief says it could work like that depending on what the man specifies. Right. I don't remember what I said or what you said at that moment.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's answering the question that we'll respond into Aki Antonio.
Oh, okay. All right.
Perhaps.
And he said that second answer I provided was a continuation of the first. I hadn't answered. Oh, I hadn't answered Aki Christopher.
Okay.
Good thanks. Tatia, please. She says, usually those same women who have acquired resources from themselves have also been groomed to look down on true women who do have that honor. You are so right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's like, oh, all she do is have kids and breed babies and and you know, I got a PhD, but you lonely. So let's just be honest about some things. Exactly. And then you have girls' night with your girls and you drinking wine and it's just you women, you're manless and you have like probably 11 kids with different baby daddies and you just complaining about the man you want. Meanwhile, the woman who did acknowledge her femininity, she's sitting at home with her husband and her family and her children.
Right. What was it called? I think we touched on this a while back. It's like the idea of the pick me women
Yes.
somehow being, chastised or looked down upon. But, just since we took it back to that line, that idea of women, will seek a man with that same level of desperation. That is the desperation from my understanding or perspective is more about that sober assessment. What are the priorities? What is most important? Headship is most important. But again, ideally, you recognize that from the time you're forming. Your mother and your father are present, and so the father is that first example of headship. And so
Yes.
you're there, so you're covered. So there is no reality
Yeah.
where you're like
Yeah.
desperately
Yeah.
seeking something because you have it. So the fact
Have
that
it.
you're being brought into some level of illumination or light or clarity, and then
Yeah.
you realize like, I'm uncovered. Wait a minute. This is not how it's supposed to be.
Like, what's that?
That's when you should right. You should desperately seek out covering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what happens when that relationship is severed? The first headship of a girl is her father. So think about what line is severed when there's no father in the home for whatever reason. Think about that. What does it create? What does it breed? What it's that malformation, right? From early. So then what can you do? What do you bring to a household when you're malformed?
Exactly.
There was a lot. Okay. Sister Kashia said, you're right, in my top tier.
Ema top tier. That's cute.
They laugh and call the true woman you speak of pick me, which is what you just talked
Oh,
about.
yes.
Right.
Okay. Yep.
Yes. Desperate and without shame. Right. And that level of shame is connected, should be connected to that desperation. And then what happens when you have no shame? Then you're sitting there thinking you're not desperate. So then what happens? You die alone. You die alone. Chief says, why would one not be desperate if susceptible to damage?
Right.
If there are volcanic rocks falling from above, you would run, checking any and every doorknob. You may even run into a cave for cover.
Absolutely. And you're not worrying about, and again, this actually is a perfect segue into the next line, right? But they will seek men to have children with and be able to claim the surname of the man, the man's homestead, to take away their shame or reproach. And of course, in the scripture, we know that aligns with, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name, reproach. So again, it's like stacking on. So you're literally in this example, whatever you have is what you have, and then you figure it out from there, because that shelter, that safety, that headship is all that actually matters. Because this is calamitous times, and according to you all, that time is now.
And then it goes back into what we were talking about earlier, like how are you preparing yourself? Like once you're there, like are you mentally ready, and not even it's mentally ready and also willing to be receptive and submissive, because you're coming somewhere now, from your outside space. Whenever you come into somebody's community or home, what do you have to do? When in Rome, you have to do what they're doing. That's right? Like, this is our rule. This is our culture. This is how we do things. So if you don't like it, then maybe this is not the spot for you. So it's like you can't come, and if you don't do that, then you become, how we talked about before, you become a liability. So you can't come in like, oh, I want to have a baby and have your name. You can't do that if you're gonna be acting like a child yourself. That's a liability. We ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
And there's no humility in that, right? Because that reproach, just the idea of it, just by definition, is a disapproval.
Yeah.
It's like, so, but it takes me back to the idea of that sober assessment. What standard are you even using to determine what you should be ashamed of, what you should seek out, desperately? And then what you should even, look at with disapproval. Like, no,
Right.
I can't,
Are you,
I shouldn't even be like this. Right?
yeah.
And then
Are
with
you
that comes some
discerning?
shame. Right.
Are you
Right.
discerning? And it goes
Exactly.
back to Brother Antonio's comment, like, are you just, grabbing the first thing that comes along because you're selfishly thinking about your own redemption?
But to some degree, at that point, that may be the only thing to do.
True.
And it's not about, rapping on, seeing which door, as she said, knocking on every door and checking every doorknob to see where you can get shelter. And then as soon as that door opens up, having the humility to say, this is what I have, like have all that I have, because all I need is your name, your covering. So that may be what needs to happen. But recognize that that is a selfish act. And if we were better prepared, it wouldn't be the case. It wouldn't be necessary.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So let's go back to these comments. Sister Kashia says the lack of shame is what makes it loud in here. Proud of the raggedy road chosen.
That was so poetic.
And that's it.
That's it.
That's it. She said it could work like that. If a man allows you to just sit in a car and do nothing, that is his sovereign decision. Okay. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
He can do that if he wants to.
That'll be
But
knocking
you
on. You
just
better
gonna
be
be
knocking
sitting in
on
that
the
car.
good door. Right?
He's just gonna be sitting in the car, and if everybody has a moment,
Be like, I sure am hungry.
Like,
well, you got a car.
Course, you gonna be in that car. Just go sit in that car. So, hey, give thanks to our wrench. Yes, like, share, subscribe. Sister, oh wait, I missed something. Okay, Brother Antonio says, very true, Chief. When that primal instinct kicks in, there is less pickiness when it comes to what corners shields you, as long as you're not getting hit anymore. That's true. Think about, when they say, what do they still say, like in California or just places that have workers stand in the doorways? You're gonna go anywhere where you're safe from getting like knocked on the head with a beam or something.
I don't think they stand in the doorway.
Oh, they don't stand in the. I heard that.
No. I just imagine.
I heard that somewhere. Like you stand in the doorway. No.
And hold it up.
California. Somebody tell us what you're supposed to do.
I actually think you just go low. Like
just
you
go low.
I think it's like a fire. Let me shut up.
Well, anybody in California, you can put in the comments what you do in an earthquake. But I think the ground moves faster in that case. She said, if I was of low status in my community, I would be shamefaced. I would be desperate for an opportunity to claim a place of honor in my community. Yeah, it's like oh my gosh, like when you think, like the town, pariah. Say it again. Pariah? I guess, yeah, they're like a pariah, but there's like a name for it. Like, I guess like the town drunk, like, the person who like everybody's like, they just kind of like, there goes little Billy, whatever.
Yeah, that's the town pariah. Yeah, the one that it's like.
Pariah, it's like, you should be ashamed. You should be ashamed. Like, if I was in that position, I hate to be embarrassed and ashamed. So I'm like doing whatever I can to like stay out of those positions, And then when I find myself there, it's like, what can I do to fix this?
But you know what? You're only going to have shame if you, like, going with this analogy of being that town pariah, if you are actually not just connected to the town, but the community. Right. So if you're like the one who's like, to heck with y'all, with what y'all are doing until you need what we're doing, you're going to stay outside. You're going to stay out there and stay like at the gate or right by the door where you can kind of have that 1 foot in, 1 foot out mentality. But that person will not have shame. They'll actually question what shame is and why, well, is it really shame or is it this? And create all of this confusion in the space. Yeah. So oftentimes those people are not connected fully to their community. And that's why I think that's why there's that lack of desperation.
Yeah.
Shane, for that matter.
Those are the ones who jump into the hot lava. Remember those games before? We talking about volcanoes and ducking from the falling rock.
Yeah.
Remember the floor is made of lava?
The floor is lava.
Those are the ones that there's always somebody that jumped into the lava. Can't save them. Let's just stay up here on our little
That's fun to play
couch.
at home, I must say.
Those are the ones that jump into the lava. Can't save them now. Top tier speaker says, right, Sister Kashia, it's unfortunate because that desperation to be covered should be encouraged. And that's what we do here in Anu. You just have to listen. You have to be covered. That's why we have our covering initiative. So, so that people and our members in our community can have that experience and like get that initial experience of covering someone and being covered. That was the coveree and the coverer, or the checky and the checker.
Checky and checker.
Checky and checker.
Coming soon. T-shirts coming soon. No.
Yes. Checky and checker. Sister Kashia says it goes to show how people study language and understand the meaning of desperation. What sick society tells us to perceive, we must do the opposite.
Right.
Because that's the trick.
Right. That's the trick.
Do the opposite of what they're telling you to do. Chief says, if you have to convince anyone they should feel shame, you are most likely speaking to a soulless individual, right? Right. No nefesh. Low nefesh. It's like trying to convince a NAMBLA member of their mental illness. Walk away. Right. I forget what NAMBLA is, but I know it's like, I forget the acronym. It's those people.
Right. I'm mouthing it because I'm like, I'm not going to say
no, because I was going to say it was something else. And I'm like, no, it's some crazies. It's those people. Look it up.
No bueno.
Right.
No bueno.
Sickness.
Don't even look it up.
Right.
Don't know. Don't know.
Into it. Right. Snap speakers. Google NAMBLA.
I'm about to choke.
And she Googles NAMBLA. Okay,
Don't Google it.
You're all adults.
Don't do it.
Brother Antonio says, if I got on a plane and our passenger was given safety instructions, I might have to reschedule. What'd I say? But you wouldn't, because you know why? They got him in the back.
You wouldn't need what I say.
You didn't even need it.
Read it for yourself.
Most likely all you need to see is how I buckle the seatbelt, but they got the instructions in the back of the seat in front of you. You'll be all right. The village idiot. Thank you.
Oh, is that?
Okay. The village idiot. Okay. That's it. Definitely not about to be in that final. You'll be all right. It's in the back. It's in the back of the seat. The town knob. Everybody gets a turn.
That was not
that's
what you were referring to.
But that's
I guess that works too.
That's that person too. Everybody gets a turn. We looking like, look at her there. Just a clothespin. Go ahead and do that if you want to.
Clothespin. I never heard that one.
Curses are real. Top tier speaker says people have to be responsible for their own character cultivation based on the internal work of allowing themselves to be infilled with the truth of our righteous culture. Personal responsibility. It takes me to you can't.
I'm sorry, I read ahead. You know what happens.
I know, I see it. You can't always my mom did this, or I have a lot of at a point, personal responsibility. We decided to come here, right? So then you have to, connect with that personal responsibility. You came to answer a question. Be responsible for finding that purpose. Brother Antonio says, yeah, the floor is lava. It's fun till you gotta go to the bathroom.
I was like, that's a good point. Because that floor is still lava.
I was a master at it. No, we'll hold it.
It's fun.
Game over?
Fun.
All right.
Right.
Or you pause the game. Pause.
Time out. Floor's the floor. Floor's the floor. Because the floor's about to be the toilet.
Time out. Floor's the floor again. Floor's the floor again. No, you still dead. Floor's the floor again. She says, "LOL, brother Antonio, that would be soul play for real." It might be.
Oh boy.
That's because that's the only thing that would be left after that journey. Your soul, his body would be there. It'll be there, I promise.
Maybe.
I'm not
Maybe.
flying. As long as I ain't flying, you'll be all right.
Right. As long as you're not the literal pilot. Right. You
I'm
just
not
put
the pilot.
safety
I
and
don't profess to be the pilot.
right. You're like, hold on to the ceiling.
Right.
We'll all be safe.
If those things
never mind that dangling thing.
Right. No, I would tell them, put the dangling thing on. Just make sure you get yours on before anybody
And then
else,
hold the ceiling.
and hold on. You know, put your hands up. You know, something. Don't tense up.
Breathe
your body.
slow.
Relax.
Right. But if you're from California, just hold up the door. That's what they're really talking about. Crazy.
Somebody says, right, even precious. That is true. It speaks to how dire that position is. Families need stability. If you have no covering, no actual family, there is shame. Whether you want to honestly express it or not. That's true. That's, because like when we were talking about the person that has no shame, I think it is there. You profess to not have it, but that's why I said that's when you end up on your girls' night drinking your wine every night or waking up with like tequila shots and but you're not shamed. Well, that's what the tequila says otherwise. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you said it. You said it. And, this made me think of again, I'm just like, do you know? Like, because with shame, there is naturally, unless you're a sociopath, right? So there are, there is mental illness that'll just preclude that consequential thinking or that able to think in a straight line. But I imagine, when would there be an opportunity to kind of appreciate? Well, no, that's not true. We can know that the time is now. The calamitous time is now, and war times and, and rumors of wartime is now. Hear all of this that we've discussed and still not, move with that zeal. Or, as I know when we were preparing for this, it was like that idea of desperation becomes that rudder or that propeller. Like it just helps you, it moves you faster to where you need be.
Yeah.
But I imagine that you can hear all of this and still not get there. And it would be, based on your pride or
ego. You got a big ego.
Wow. That's a
big
different
ego.
whole kind of ego. But okay, I'm going to go with.
Oh.
I'm like, don't do it. Then I'm like, wait, is there another? No, that was. But anywho, yes.
Well, we use it for that tonight. Don't
right.
it.
So you need to, not be stuck in ego.
Right.
Really.
So Brother Cruz says many do not express the desperation because they are not seeking the kether. Mm-hmm. What is the kether, even precious?
The crown.
Mm-hmm. They are not seeking the kether. They prefer the satisfaction of the lower order spirits that the Anu way speaks of in the declaration of truth. Right. So maybe if those are your Aelites, the lower order, that's where you're going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that just, brings to mind climbing that chain. I think many, right, become attracted to or find their way to Anu through, Ifa and through what Chief has spoken to, just from that perspective. And when you think about climbing Obatala's chain, there's, again, just when I thought of Kether and crown, it's kind of like you're working through those chakras, or you're just working your way up this chain. And if you are not desperately striving, one, are you assuming that you're on that chain alone? Like, is there no one before you and no one behind you? Mm-hmm. How does your lack of willingness or desire to ascend impacting your bloodline? If this is all about bloodline, then what is your role, and how does it impact your bloodline's ability to ascend? And it's like, if you prefer that satisfaction of the lower order spirits, then
Yeah.
we stuck.
It's like when you do that, I guess that's such a good analogy. Like, what about the one behind you? Like the chain is the bloodline. And it basically creates another hump, because then you become, you transition, and you just
It's your stumbling block.
your
You become
stumbling
another
block,
stumbling block.
another curse that they have to dispel in
Right.
their own journey before they can
Right.
get to where they need to be.
So the
So
person
how many
proud,
lumps and bumps are in the chain of your bloodline that you have to get through?
right? So that proud, I don't need no man, or yes, I know I need one, but I'm gonna wait until the lava is coming right up on my heels.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna
It's
stay
hot.
here.
It
I'm
could
gonna
burn
stay
you
here,
before
and
you
I'm
get
just
there.
gonna right. But I'm gonna stay close enough so that when the lava comes, they gotta let me in. Like they know me. No,
You might be sitting in the car though. You could just sit in the car.
You might be in the car.
You might be in the car. In the
You might be in the lava.
Right. Maybe we'll give you something that can withstand. I don't think there is anything.
What did you
but,
say? In the lava with tequila or something?
Who said that?
No, you. I was just mixing what you said.
Oh, I said,
sipping tequila.
If you don't want to, that lack of shame or like faking. I think it was Brother Cruz. We said, not expressing the desperation because they're not seeking the crown. It might have even been before that.
Mm-hmm.
But you can sit there and act like it's not a problem, or act like you're not desperate. But
right.
I was like, those girls' night and single ladies' nights say otherwise, and that's the tequila in the morning says otherwise.
Yeah, yeah.
Sovereignty says females have been taught to feel pride from the lack of headship or covering. Yeah. I saw a preview of some film that's supposed to come out, and the soundbite. The soundbite was like, women these days don't need a man to be successful and happy in life. And I'm paraphrasing. The part that I didn't paraphrase was like, women don't need a man. I was like, who wrote that? I was like, y'all won't be watching that, because then the preview goes on to, show her meeting this man and like having a struggle love. I'm like, this is not like, this is the trick,
Yeah.
This is the perception and the thing that you're shown. It's like, now you have to look at the opposite, go the other way. Like,
because the question is, what kind of man is that? That's the emasculated male, right? Which is her actual appropriate counterpart. So it is incorrect, but only if you recognize it wholly as upside down and incorrect. So she's actually getting her proper mate pairing, right? She's getting that. If I'm understanding the sound.
Well, what the preview went on to show, it was the struggle of, but she was creating the problem.
Oh,
she was creating the problem is because she's coming from that mentality. I don't need
Right.
So then when you finally get into that space with that man, everything is from a place of mistrust. Right?
And selfishness.
Because you don't know how to function in your right role.
Right.
So now everything is mistrust. Kashia says, yep, Sovereignty females have been taught that I can do that too when it comes to being with a man. That's not how that works. That's not how any of that works. Yeah. Right. Like, and didn't we had one of the SHEMAs we talked, I'm not doing what men do. I'm sorry.
Yes, we did. We discussed that quite extensively. Yeah, early on. Peace, Aki Vermont.
Yes. Peace to you too.
We gotta acknowledge that.
Peace, shalom, Shabbat shalom. I would write. Thank you.
That's because you know how to read, and you're not gonna rely on her.
Don't worry about my
give
time.
You no safety instructions.
They'll be seatbelts and stuff.
He said, "You know what? I'm not playing any games with Aki and Tony." He is like.
But you know what? From y'all's fingers to y'all's ears, that means we're gonna have a plane. We're gonna have a plane.
You talking about the plane? I'm talking about the floor is lava. Yeah, no, we got the flat planes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was on confused. She said she would ride the plane.
I know. I saw that. You feel vindicated? That's one.
I do.
That means she's,
you'll be on it. You'll be on it.
I know how to read. I'm not going to rely on hold the ceiling for my. Put it together and take it apart.
Oh, ain't no pausing. No,
Ain't no
you can pause.
pausing.
It's like Uno. You have your own rules.
Right. Each house. You got your
You
house
have your own
rules.
rules. I've played Uno with many different people. I know several different ways to play Uno. So it's many different ways to play the
I
board.
know. It's like, well, what are we doing? We doing pluck till you die. We doing this, we doing that. Like, but it's like, but that's Monopoly as well. Yes. It's like, how many can buy property on the first go round? You really there's no prohibition. But I played where it was like, no, you can't. Like, how many do the anyway? I can go on about that. But
you know, that's actually a good example. Like, we play these games and it's like, oh, we have our own rules. But the truth is, in reality, when we're talking about building families and how we're supposed to save ourselves, ain't no making your own rules. There's one rule and there's one way to follow. There is no like, oh, I'm gonna get another life. That's after you transition from this one. And you can come back and try again. You have to actually physically transition.
Well, I'm gonna like that secret stash of money.
Right, or mushrooms. You know, let me get the one.
Right.
It don't work like that. Let me get the one.
Oh, that's from Mario. Okay, yeah.
It don't work like that.
The mushroom.
It don't work like that. No.
No, it doesn't. So let me just read this last line as you go through the rest of the chat. So I'll just go back a little bit. So they will seek men to have children with and to be able to claim the surname of that man's homestead, to take away their shame and reproach. We didn't really get into the surname piece, but I would be remiss in not addressing the name piece of the reference. And I'm just going to pull from the Isaiah 41 again, just to keep the connection. So the women will pretty much cleave to one man, 7 women to one man. They're coming with their own food and clothing and ability to maintain that. Yeah. And all they need is to be called by thy name. So it's, you know, in Anu, as we've touched on many times through the Covering Initiative, you are then under the house of, or in the house of. And it's the idea of that surname and just how important it is to have that surname because of the weight that it carries. It means that you're not just kind of floating out there by yourself, but that you're connected to something more, like founded, actually. And just, but you have to know that that's actually important. You have to know that there's value in just having the name. Everything else is like, will you even get that? You know, or are you sitting in the car like, all right, at least I'm not out there. I have some part of the shelter, right? Right. Or will you sit in that car and then enumerate all the other things that you really think you should have had, but you came with nada? Gotta think about that. Yeah. And that's it. I don't have nothing to say. And that's it. You know what? Before we go back to chat, let's even go to the last line. Like, because it talks about the greatest shame and reproach is not being covered by a patriarch. Yes. So with that, I'm going to go to Chief's comment. If a person feels no desperation in relation to what you see as being shameful, it's wrong to judge them by your standard. This is true. Like, we are... Let's kind of go back. Yeah. We are speaking to our community, right? We're speaking to our Aelites. I knew. So if you're not moving in that way, we're not gonna, you know, that you know, goes with the key of justice, right? We have our rules set here, so that's what we're judged by. So if you're not moving by that, then it's wrong. It is wrong to judge you by that. I was just gonna point some stuff out, but you know, I'm just saying. It is important to be separate, set apart. Yeah. So that way we don't have to worry about like the tricks and like what the outside and what Babylon is producing and putting upon you, like being tricked into doing the things that are against what we are, like what we inherently are. Our culture and code are a joke to the wicked, right? So why would they respect it? You know, right? Because they have no ears to even hear it, so it can't be righteous. Like it almost has to be a joke, because they're tuned into on a whole different frequency. Yeah. That's yeah.
And that's
And
where the
then,
set
that even
apartness comes
takes,
from.
say it again.
I said, and that's where the set apartness comes from. That's where it becomes necessary.
Yeah, and it even takes me to, I know I know we all, everyone who does SHEMA reads the preface. But the idea of, and I wonder if anyone who hasn't listened to the really early videos where we break down the preface a bit, there's a distinction between what you discuss, who you discuss this works with, and your convictions surrounding it, and to whom you share it. And so understanding that you're not going to have a discussion with your people about this work. You're sharing the information. Because again, it's that idea of casting your pearls onto swine, right? Are they even going to hear it? Or is it going to be a joke? Are you going to try to sit there and defend, we, our new women, why we're covered? Why do I need to defend it? Like, no, I'm not. It's dope. Like, it just is. It makes sense. Right.
I have the time
Right.
and patience.
But then that other side is, well, that's why it's there. That's why, it being that clarification is there in the preface, because you're to discuss the convictions of this work with your Anu brothers and sisters, so that you're not, the joke to the wicked, because that's offensive, You're actually not that bright. Why am I even? Yeah.
Chief says, you only know that the time is now if you are actively tapped into the source.
Right.
People are facing judgment today and blaming everything but their rebellion against the heavens. Yeah. It's not to say that like things like white supremacy, racism don't exist, but like, again, I'm going to go back, personal responsibility. What are you doing? What do you keep doing? What are you perpetuating? That puts you in certain spots. Set yourself apart. Stop trying to like get in on some place that does not, that is clearly saying there's no room for you.
Right. But even on a really simple, this isn't simple, but it isn't as it is as wide scale, but just something that we've already touched on, not even going to racism or any of that. The idea that you choose to not live righteous. You make the decision to walk away. That like, I'm thinking of the consequence of those, those decisions. And just how, when it comes back around, you're blaming something else. You're not taking it as oh yeah, I made this. I chose.
Yeah. I did it. It's next time. Misplaced blame. She says, good example. Women lose their hair and blame age and stress. They never say, I should not have worked so hard to destroy the crown of the original woman. As Yah said, it's my glory. And, and the work so hard, it's not just like, work. When I'm looking at like age and stress and like what stresses you out. But like you're working really hard to look like someone else when you put weaves in. Right. So that's working really hard to destroy
chemicals
the crown.
and
chemicals.
and
Working really hard.
And also your diet. There are so many.
There's a lot more. So let's not just think, work, like, going to the office. No, you're putting in a lot of work when you do things that are against the grain and against nature. Chief also says the judgment of the campaign has been here, but we misplaced the source of it. Judgment is happening right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she says it's an increase of that rhetoric, and Franken families. Ooh, I feel like I just had a conversation about Franken families. That's a nice way to put it, because I think we just call them mongrels. I'll move on. Just because she said it is expected that these new shows must have a missing parent, most likely the father, and a single mother trying to navigate through that. Any man character is gay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, because it's like and sometimes I think it's I don't know, it's like the chicken and the egg. It's like, because shows weren't like that, when
no, they weren't.
And now I'm sounding my age. It wasn't like back in my day. You know, we had good old wholesome shows, good clean girls. You know,
Good clean.
good clean, good old
Yes,
wholesome
we
shows.
did.
And nowadays, the shows are so dysfunctional, and there's it's normality and dysfunction so much that we don't see it, to the point where people will clamor and gather in a pack to defend crazy. You know.
Right.
Top tier says it's wonderful to be in a community where the women realize the importance of being covered and are seeking men aggressively. Our alliance helps us to return to what we're meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Chief says men have erectile issues and never blame it on their misuse of the creative principle. They jam their jed into anything that will take it, and judgment comes as the destruction of creation.
Creation, right?
Franken families.
Yeah.
Sister Kashia says, LOL, I need to up my standards though. That's a fact on writing soul. But they'll get me there. You know, this is true soul. It's nefesh. Nefesh air. That's what we're gonna call it. Nefesh air.
Look, and you say it like, oh, I can't even do it. And I always keep my hand like this. I was just like, you're just so poised. What is it?
Nefesh air. Mm-hmm.
With the shoulder.
You might want to be
You're
with
going
us.
down the fresh air. But go on.
There you go.
You're going to die. Hold that ceiling and die. That's what's going down.
Because we in spirit.
Yes.
Brother Antonio says the lack of real men also nurtures an environment that lacks accountability. Judgment in this culture is automatically equated with oppression. Like Chief mentioned earlier, malformed males
I got you.
are taught, thank you, that as soon as they run into hyper emotionalism, they should back away from the issue at hand rather than stand firm on righteousness. You know, right? So if something is happening and it's absolutely outrageous and out of order and cantankerous, and a man is like, no, da 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 da, people like are up in arms. Case in point, I was perusing a specific site. You know what? I don't want to say what, but this site is a certain site, like Chained Up, right? Where you're supposed to connect with like-minded people who are at a certain career level. Mm-hmm. So everybody knows what I'm saying. So there was a picture of so there was a picture of a young woman who was, you know, announcing like I graduated with my master's in whatever. And, you know, we know what graduation pictures look like nowadays. You know, instead of just capping down, it's a whole photo shoot. It's a whole experience. And usually you'll see these on Facebook. I said it. So I said one. That's not the one I was talking about, but I didn't mean to mention it. You'll see it on the head pages, whatever. Head pages. And immediate. That other one. Where you just do a lot of pictures. And, you know, usually there's always like a mini dress. And, you know, I have, you know, my hair is flowing and, you know, fabulous nails done. And my face is beat to perfection and whatever. And this picture, like, and she's in a certain position. And you can see it's a mini dress. And so it's very short. So immediately, and when you look at it, this is where, like, when we're talking about judgment, like, so this person is not in my community, so I have no right to judge her. However, I immediately thought of, like, well, this is not necessarily a picture for Chained Up, right? This is because this is a specific aesthetic. It's not professional. Right. So lo and behold, there was a man in the comments, because I was like, let's see what the comments said. And that's what he said. Mm-hmm. They came for this man like it was nobody's business.
For shaming her?
For shaming her. Oh, but it wasn't. But it was.
No, but I get it. It wasn't that. But it was like he was right.
He was right. But then this is where we have to think, like, you know, well, this person isn't in your community. So, like, no, it is wrong to judge them. But my point is, this was a man, like, standing in, this is not the place for that. And they came for him like nobody's business. And so then what's supposed to happen? He's supposed to shrink away. So then when we are moving in a space where everybody's just willy-nilly doing what they want, and then they're wondering why everything's all messed up. Well, you wanted to take pictures in mini skirts for professional.
But you know what? We're assuming everyone's read the when it says, oh, you have to accept here, right? There's this contract that you enter into before you can sign into any of these apps or sites. And so that community, that communal piece that we're referring to, that here is founded on the Anue foundations, right? And biblical precepts and references, there is no community. So while he's speaking up, this particular person, he's assuming that they're all reading out the same playbook. But most people don't even read that, so it's kind of like, in that example, you get what you get, because that's not a real community. What we're talking about into is. So, we judge.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Sounds like a mic drop, Ema. What you say?
Let me stop. I don't know. Let me. I'm about to. It's getting late. I've been talking a lot.
Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Brother Cruz says, Revelation, the book, tells us that the very system of things that Babylon rides and embraces shall be the very thing to devour her. It is in all of our survivalist interest to break away from her. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? That might have been around the time when whatever I said and you said, that's it. It was around that with the mic drop.
Oh, that was Ema's top tier. No. Yes, I think. I'm going to give you a whole government name.
Yeah.
Top tier. Ema top tier. Sarvani says, yes. This is, we 10 minutes behind. This is true, Chief. The blatant opposition to the law brings consequences. Yeah. Tonight's build reminds me of a part in Luke that says, many will say, fountains fall on us, hills cover us.
Mountains, yeah.
Mountains
fall upon us.
Fountains.
And I'm like, wait, does this say mountains?
Like fountains and falls. Mountains fall on us, hills cover us.
It's like water fountains.
That's
sprinkle me. Just sprinkle me. Okay.
Because she says, truth, this goes for blood relatives too. No need to defend it with them or convince them of your culture. Right.
Well, that's exactly who it's referencing, right? The blood relatives are what are called your people in the purpose, right? So no, you're not discussing. Yeah, you're sharing, and it's up to them.
This is that, like, even when, in that same level of desperation, we could even say shame level of desperation, right? The shame level of desperation. No, you have recognized where you went wrong. There was a misstep. And clearly someone in those blood relatives, did not share it to you. I mean, they were happy to watch you flounder and, do your thing and kind of be here with us. No.
Or try to create shame in this, like shame in being righteous, or, happy whatever day, ha ha ha, whatever you celebrate today. And it's just like, so I guess,
That's you.
I assume it's just said, based on your face.
Fix my face.
I'm like, based on your face, I guess we all got a happy whatever you celebrate today. It's just like, don't even respond. Don't even respond, because, when you think about the things that you were doing that were grossly incorrect and led to nothing but death and destruction, there was no mockery. There was no chastisement. There was no intervention. There was no phone call to say, "No, son, you're wilding in these streets." It was like, "Ooh, like that picture. Skirt looks good. Outfit looks good. Yeah, what you drinking?" There was nothing, not what were you doing in that place at that hour at night, uncovered.
And and that being said, kudos, and to those who don't do that, those blood relatives and friends who don't, and say, you know what, I see you're bettering yourself and that this is what is working for you. Right. I'm happy to see you moving in that space. Because, you know, those are the ones you want to, you know, keep close. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Or just be the example for
them.
Whether they're close or not.
Yeah. Everything begins with choice. Yes. Accountability is key and something wicked run away from. Yes. Further Cruz says, allow a righteous leader infilled with the knowledge of the Elohim to inspire us to reconnect to the planet that we are supposed to be. We all need to be covered by a community.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's that bride again, right?
Inspired in spirit. Be infilled with the spirit of the Elohim.
Yeah.
Because there's a plan. Inclusion, diversity are the new words for dysfunction and disease.
Wow. Come on. You got to get it all in the pot and mix it up in order to, you know, keep the ambiguity going.
Right, because we have, be very.
Because if you can recognize, wait, I don't want that in my soup. Like, no, I don't want that. But if you just put it all together, you get what you get. You get what you get.
That's the trick. You know, everything can't be about that. Chief US says, no, television has always been that was we behind. So that was to my back in my day. Television has always been an evil program, nothing new. How could there have ever been righteous rulership in that industry? Birth of a Nation, Stephen Fetchit, Heckle and Jekyll.
Heckle and Jekyll, yeah. Heckle and Jekyll. It's okay. Just say it and yes.
Heckle and Jekyll. That's before my time, but I do know Birth of a Nation because that was the one that, you know, they're bad and we should be scared of them. I do know Birth of a Nation, but I'm not sure of Stephen Fetchit, and the list goes on. But yes.
It might be Heckle and Jekyll. That might be before my time. Yeah, that might be like stepping and fetching kind of time. That's what it feels like.
Stepping and fetching.
That's what that.
Stepping and fetching.
I just thought of that all on my own. I did not realize that's what that said. We are on like delay today.
That short bus was real.
Stepping and fetching.
Stepping, fetching.
See, and it was when I saw Heckle and Jekyll. I'm like, maybe that's like Black Bay stepping. Like, it might not be Heckle and Jekyll. Okay.
You know, it's that autocorrect. They need to mind their business.
Mind your business.
Mind your business. Just mind your business. Shabbat Shalom, Brother Isaiah. Shabbat Shalom. Top tier says family can be defined as the fundamental group of any society, which consists of two or more individuals with the same goal and objectives. Most times we consider our blood relatives our family, right? And but when we have to sit and look at it, like if you're not moving on that same wavelength, then they're just blood relatives. They're not necessarily family. And I know it's hard to like conceptualize that because I think someone said this earlier, like language is key. Like if you're used to kind of using certain terminology and verbiage, it becomes like this difficult thing to grasp, right? For some people, if you have those barriers up, then it's difficult. If you know, because you don't want to be receptive, you know, to certain things.
Yeah. And actually, I'll just read a lot. So top tier speaker actually says, most times we consider our blood relatives our family when in fact they are not. So she even goes on to make that distinction, you know, you got to recognize that. And even when you choose to not recognize it, it's that light. When you're being a vessel, that light is going to shine and it's going to make it clear. Blood relatives are not necessarily family. Yeah.
Am I hearing Kill Bill sirens? Probably.
Say what?
I'm skipping forward because we are so behind. Peace, MGC, Randy. Because some of it is just people like, you know, laughing. Yes, Kashia, the times of calamity is a time where wickedness is validated at every turn. Shalom, Abba Randy. Chief said, okay, we're caught up. She says those kudos from relatives don't matter one bit.
Yep.
Okay. What standard are they using to establish praise for your change? Whomever you allow to reward or punish you is who you allow to define you. Okay, give thanks. Duly noted. Duly noted.
Yes. It was Heckle and Jekyll, and I do remember. Okay, so it wasn't Heckley and Jekyll. Okay, I do remember Heckle and Jekyll. It was a black
right.
boy,
Okay. I think it was still
and they were supposed to be like,
caricatures of more.
yes,
people.
I just remember like, yeah.
You know what? Like the crows on when I seen an elephant fly.
Yes. Don't even sing it.
Yeah, that's what that is. Yep. So we are caught up.
We are.
So you know what? Let's read the verse, the scripture again. Isaiah 4:1.
Absolutely.
Oh no, that was Hanna-Barbera. Oh, Heckle and Jekyll. Okay.
And in that day, and in that day, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name. Take away our reproach. Isaiah 4:1.
Desperate times. Desperate times. So
right. Don't be caught having to take desperate measures.
Right. Jiggling every doorknob, trying to run away from the hot lava.
Not thinking you're gonna say
standing indoors.
Right. It's like what? Jiggling whatever.
Right. Or the crows and the whiz. Right, Brother Antonio. The crows and the whiz. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But yeah, you know, even beyond, well, perhaps not beyond the desperate times, it's just being able to take that sober assessment. And of course, we're speaking from the only perspective we can speak from, and that's as women. And so it's like, know your person. You know, we tend to make these lists of, you know, this is what I want in a mate and this is what I will not tolerate. But you have no sense of truthfulness or even a list for yourself. These are the skills I possess, and these are the things that I am straight up trash at with, you know, period. And recognize that you're coming with shortcomings, and I'm sure your shortcomings are probably longer than what you think you're coming with. Right.
And when you write down your list, what you coming with, how does it stack up to all the things you're requiring or the things you prefer? Right. You know, match it up. Do you have any, you know, skills in any of the 64 arts? Do you know how to entertain like a woman? And I don't mean hanging from a pole, you know, like, you know, if that's what you do in your household with your mate, that's your thing. But, you know, I'm not talking about that. There are a lot of things that, you know, are you a weaver? Can you build things? Can you, you know, what are you, it's all of those things are contributing to the homestead. What are you bringing that contributes to the homestead that validates whatever your list is saying, right?
More important than not, you should just know what you have and what you don't. Well, not more importantly, but another way of looking at it is you don't even know that the things you're bringing is what your headship is going to even need, want, find attractive, useful.
Right. It may not
so it's like,
useful, sober,
it's like I came with all this, and he's like, that's that's straight trash. Like that's straight.
So I don't need that.
Right.
I got
and then you know, right. How about that? And then in the sense of something top tier speaker said early on, go learn how to cook a meal. Like go learn how to massage, like go learn how to do the things that are actually needed here for kingdom, for nation building. So yeah, it's just something to explore.
Okay,
it looks like there's some comments
to the chat
pouring in.
She says there is the importance of being inside of the food on whichever capacity of a man of righteousness. This scripture talks about accursed times when the leaders of strength are no more. Isaiah. I think we're talking about Isaiah. I don't know what one of us said, Sister Kashia.
Yeah. So, that she's laughing. Okay.
Epoch Bahamas. Peace. You know who you are. The torrent must stay out. Go
Go jingle down the hill.
Jingle down the hill.
Jingle.
Me and the 6 Anu womb and our Anu youth are farming and making peanut oil for sale.
Okay.
The turret must stay out.
He's like, nah.
You're not even in
like,
the
ain't
car.
no room at the end. Like,
Not even
go along.
In the main.
We got you on some product later. Like, go wait in line. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
He said men were looking for leadership and the women were dispersing with coy games of courting and boldly grabbing hold of men. That's what's happening now. Like, oh, I'm a baddie, or even like, the game playing, thinking that it's the objectification of men, right? I'm going to be coy because, I think you're going to respond to me like this, or you should respond to me like this because this is what the world says you are. And so that's my thought of you. And so I'm going to be playing these games. Right. And when it doesn't work, then there's like, shock and amazement, right. And then indignance,
right, because how long am I? Right, because how long am I gonna be waiting here? Ain't you gonna let me in? Kind of.
No, yeah, maybe not.
No,
maybe not. Greetings, Ima Safta Arlene. She says the best self-preservation that one could achieve is the preservation that comes at the behest of group preservation. That is the 14 kids. Unity, I think.
Men.
Grabbing hold of men. Not males. Men, there is no reason to take on a desperate female who sold you out years ago for a salary. Let me finish. Turn your attention to those who preserve themselves. Polygyny is no favor to you. 7 headaches they are. That sold you out for salary. He can't be in the home in order for you to get this check.
That's one. Or go on and go to school and burn away your fertile, virginal whole years, and instead go to frat parties and explore and have fun. Oh, and get a degree and then go make your own money. So both were sellout.
Yeah,
both were,
Brother Isaiah says, Isaiah 3:5, and the people shall be oppressed, everyone by another, and everyone by his neighbor. The child shall behave himself proudly against the ancient, and the base against the honorable.
And see, look at the distinction here. The children shall behave himself proudly against the ancient. So that's exactly the counter to what I shared earlier in Titus 2. So where the aged, right? So here it's ancient, but there it's aged. So even there's a dignity or an indignity in the shifting of the language of how you're addressing, or well, there is no reverence, right? But when you're referring to, the elder, there's a reverence there versus the ancient. It's almost derogatory. And that's what happens when there isn't that elder man, man to that junior man. So that's interesting. Thank you for sharing that scripture.
Yeah. 6, when a man, I think, is this Isaiah 6?
Verse 6, yeah.
Verse 6. When a man shall take hold of his brother of the house of his father, saying, thou hast clothing, be thou our ruler, and let this ruin be under thy hand.
So it's almost like making the more senior man. That's almost like you step out there, right?
Yeah.
Be our ruler. It's almost like, we need somebody. We need somebody.
It's almost like, and what I'm seeing and reading and understanding, it's like the same. We got our own clothes, we got our own food, but this is what we're gonna step back under. Like, Dad, you take care of it.
Right. That's that leader. That's seeking out the men seeking that leader.
Female ego at its best. He gotta come to me. Yeah, okay, you'll be alone, standing in the doorway, running from earthquakes. Or
which is equivalent to die. Just She knows what that
Dialogue.
means now, y'all.
Or more obedient to boss, but rebellious and question your handmaid. Yeah, you want then you'll just have that struggle relationship. She says men value loyalty. A female who runs to you after riding the Jed carousel of Babylon will drain your joy for life. Isaiah says what the women propose, but it doesn't mean men will accept the offer.
Right.
So like you can, then you'll just be running from door to door, running from the hot lava and the volcanic rocks, but it doesn't mean that door has to open.
Right.
And then you just die alone. Or you die with the rest of them. You perish.
So you would think that would, help to propel that desperation. You don't know how many doors. Don't assume the first one you knock on is the one you're getting into.
So it might be like, we don't set your car around here. Bam. Can't sit here, seat taken. That might be what it is.
Oh, the movie references. I know these are movie references. No, I don't know the movies.
Forrest Gump.
Oh, but were they both? They're both from Forrest Gump.
Can't sit here.
Oh, it is 8:06. Wait a minute. We got things to
I just died. Speaking of desperate right. Speaking to men being desperate for leadership.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll come under you.
Yes.
Seats taken. Yes, for it. Okay. So give thanks for joining us for the Shema. It is now Shabbat. So we're moving into that. We have moved into that stage of rest, which means we are going to leave you now. And, be sure to join us next week. Be sure to visit Anu Life Global, which is www.anulifeglobal.org. And you can pick up a free copy of the Anu Way. We also encourage you to peruse through the website. If you are interested in joining, you can join through our Anu Man and Anu Wound ministries. And if you are interested in being sponsored, you can put in your application. Sponsored for membership, you can put in your application. So that being said, there's a lot coming down for those of you who are interested in Anu. So just want to put a reminder, Anu members will be going on a retreat. So just reminder to all of you, deposits are due. So if you would like to be on retreats and do the cool things that we're doing, sign up to be sponsored for membership and go through the orientation process. And we also are excited to announce our upcoming youth initiative, which will be coming very soon. And this will be open to all youth, not just Anu youth. So this is a good entryway to see what we learn here, and especially for young people. Anything you want to add, Precious?
No.
About the youth initiative?
I'm just excited. No, I'm not. I don't want to say anything. It's coming soon. It's coming soon. And we're really excited about it. Yes. I do see that she said, don't accept the offer. Cultivate. Oh, I just lost my space. It's moving. The chat's moving. Don't accept the offer. Cultivate the Anu women of your community. Put your energy into the Anu youth and the junior men. Get a few pretty young earths and close the ark door. Bam.
Right. All I heard was like a big dungeon door.
What I saw was really kicking it shut and just like just kick it shut through your shoulder.
It's already locked. I can't lift it.
Just be like, nah, we ain't. Right. See, we ain't opening it. What you gonna do?
Like, I can't hear you. The door
I hear you.
Like,
and no.
So many cubits thick.
See, she's the kinder, gentler version. Nah, we good. And I heard you. We not answering. He said what he said. Like
I said what I said. And that's it.
He closed the date. And that's
I won't even be at the door because I'm going to be giving the seatbelt instructions.
Not in the ark. No.
We need seatbelts in the ark. No. Ark can be anything that
strap yourself in as we go through the flood. Like
it could be an air arc. It could be an air arc. Yeah.
You know
Sorry,
what? Let's get through these comments.
The pilot's already closed the door. I'm
Yeah.
already in my routine.
She's bugging. She's bugging.
Strap up, y'all.
She's like, oh, there are no seat back pockets.
Stay in there. Stay in there. Right, we pull. Seats taken.
Just follow along. Just follow along with me.
Sit here, seats taken. Okay.
Oh, goodness.
Peace, everyone. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
And the peanut shellers, yes.